Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Second Shot All-American Golf Podcast. I am your host, Tom, as always, joined by a member of the 2014 GCAA Great Lakes All-Region team, Mr. Philip Gilmore. Phil, how are we doing today?
I'm good, Tom. You're going to run out of things to introduce me by, so
You're going to run out quicker if you start doing that for me.
Yeah. Well, we won't get into that. I can find some individual accolades for sure.
You can find a couple things, I'm sure. How are we doing today, Phil?
Good. It's a little chilly. We're in the middle of a Ohio weather roller coaster, so we're just going to do what we can to get through that. I'm sure you're doing the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And for reference, we're recording this late February, but it will be released in March. And speaking of March, scoring season starts March 15th for the GCGA. Just make sure to head over to gcga.org, get signed up for your handicap. Today, we have an awesome guest today. Another dominant force, Phil, in the GCGA amateur tournament, whatever you want to say, but
Scene.
That's probably the correct word. But we've had a lot of them. I feel like we've had probably half the GCGA wins in the last 8 months on this podcast.
Yeah, and one thing's for sure, it's not going to be one of us.
That's for sure. Before we bring in our guest today, Phil, you have our random Cincinnati golf fact. The floor is yours.
All right. So in honor of our guest today, I thought it'd be fitting to go over the naming history of the club that he is a member at. So Maketewah Country Club has held 5 different names, 6 different occurrences, and 2 different locations since it was first founded. So Tom, can you give me some of those names?
We had one in one of our random golf facts. I think I
know,
did.
That's why I thought I'd ask you.
Was it Avondale, athletic club, maybe?
Yes, that was the first one from 1897 to 1903. Very good. And it was on the now campus of Xavier.
Sure. There is no chance I'm going to be able to name anything else.
Well, Maketewah Country Club.
Well, sure, but we know that.
Yeah, okay. Well, their second name while on the Dana Avenue campus was Avondale Golf Club. And that was from 1903 to 1910. 1910, significant because of the logo. So 1910 to 1921, they moved to their current location, which is it was called Hamilton County Golf Club. So from there, they were actually named Maketewah Country Club from 1921 to 1937. And then they went back to Hamilton County Golf and Country Club from 1938 to 1940. And then 1941 to the present, they have been called Maketewah Country Club. So there is your random golf fact for today.
How about that? I did not know that. And I'm kind of curious what happened in the 2 years there, why they switched for 2 years, then just went ahead and just decided to go back.
I imagine our guests might be able to tell us a little bit about that, but
I don't know.
What a teeter-totter.
I like Maketewah. It's a good name. All right, let's bring in our guest today. He grew up in Redlands, California, played golf out of Pepperdine University, played professionally, went on to have 7 professional wins before being reinstated as an amateur. He is a multiple-time USGA championship competitor. He is the 2022 Ohio Mid-Amateur champion. He is a 5-time Cincinnati Metropolitan Mid-Amateur champion. He is a 2-time Cincinnati Met runner-up in 2016 and 2024. Please join me in welcoming your 2017 Cincinnati Met champion and 4-time Greater Cincinnati Golf Association Player of the Year, Mr. Alex Rodger. Alex, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. I'm excited to get to talk to you. I've it's kind of like some of the other people we've had on. I only kind of know your name from just seeing you at the top of every leaderboard. So if you could just get us started with talking to us about, what initially got you into the game of golf and, kind of where you grew up playing.
Sure. Well, I was actually born in Alabama, and my dad had a house, my parents had a house on the 11th green of Burning Tree Country Club in Decatur, Alabama. And so I don't really have a memory of not playing golf. Uh, we got started really young. I'm identical twins, and my dad got us started really young. And I remember playing golf with buddies, like stuff the dreams were made of, right? I mean, we put our bag on our back, walk down to the clubhouse, play golf with our buddies, have lunch, and then go swimming. And it was like that was my memories from like ages like 6 to 9. Um, and that's how it all started. That's how I fell in love with it. When I was in kindergarten, for career day, I dressed up as a professional golfer. So, as long as I can remember, golf has been part of my life.
So Pepperdine now is really considered somewhat of a powerhouse in the college golf scene. What made you choose Pepperdine, and what was it that drew you to that competitive scene?
It was a long road. I mean, so my family is now in California. So as I mentioned, we were born in Alabama. We moved to Michigan for 3 years, and I kind of quit playing golf, and because the club was no longer in my backyard, and so just kind of took a break from the game. But then my family moved to California when I was 12, going into my 7th grade year, and my parents signed me back up for a golf clinic. Kind of got back into it, and it kind of took off. Um, Played a bunch of junior stuff in Southern California, and so the tide of Southern California golf was strong. So when it came time to start the recruitment process, I didn't. I mean, I knew I wanted to stay somewhere warm. My life had been to that point. I was playing golf 355 days a year, and that's not an exaggeration. And many times played more than 18 holes. So I mean, I was playing probably 500 rounds of golf a year. So I did not want to move somewhere cold and like you try to play college golf. So I went on recruiting trips to Stanford, Pepperdine, USC, University of San Diego, and then met with a few other coaches, but didn't take official recruiting visits. And I actually wanted to go to SC because my parents were very strict and wouldn't let me go on overnight recruiting trips. So I didn't get to get a vibe for college. So when we went to SC, we'd always go on Saturdays because we lived, you mentioned Redlands. Redlands is basically halfway in between Palm Springs and LA. So we could drive into LA for the day, visit with the coach, see the campus, whatever other stuff he wanted to show us, and then head back home. So we did that for Pepperdine and we did that for SC. When I went to SC on a Saturday, like the campus was alive. I remember there was like a band playing outside somewhere. We went to the athletes only dining room, and that was cool. I saw national championship trophies, and it just felt like a college vibe. But it was like as a kid, and I wasn't looking for something crazy. I just thought, I wanted to feel alive. When I went to Pepperdine on my recruiting trip, it was sleepy, and I thought, well, this isn't right. But um, but I later found out the reason that the campus was sleepy is because the beach that was just sitting like a half mile away was full of people, and so if you were looking for a hang on the Saturday, you just had to go down to the sand instead of stay on campus. So, um, but I in my mind thought I wanted to go to SC, but the Pepperdine scholarship offer came first. And so I accepted it. I got a scholarship offer to SC about a week later, and I felt like I'd made up my mind and I committed to a coach. And I wasn't going to pull out. And so I stuck with it. And my identical twin brother also was offered a spot on the team. So, both of us were going to go there, and we just stuck with it.
Now, in your junior playing days, did you win any big events? Growing up at all?
Um, you know, the competition in Southern California is pretty stiff. And frankly, when we lived in Alabama, I mean, I was breaking 80 before I was 9. And then we moved to Michigan and my game kind of fell apart because I didn't play. So we moved to California and I signed up for that clinic. Like my game was not where it needed to be. And the pro at the little club that my dad took us to was just a muni. Took an interest in my brother and I, signed me up for some tournaments. And I mean, I was shooting 94, 95 when I was 13 years old, not competitive at all. And again, playing against guys that were shooting 73, 74. Actually, a little aside, like the junior golf programs in Southern California are really, really good. And I've, watching what Todd's done with the GCGA junior program has been really cool to me. I think he's put a lot of energy in that, done a great job with it. But one of the things that we got to do out there was we got to go out to Palm Springs and play all the elite clubs in the summer because all of the members were gone. So I got to play Vintage and PGA West and Mission Hills and play all these golf clubs in summer tournaments and shoot 95 while other kids were shooting 74. But that kind of like was like, hey, competitive golf is fun. Like I want to do this. I'm playing these great golf courses. So I didn't really get very good until maybe sophomore year. I mean, my brother and I were the first 4-year letter winners in golf at our high school. We went to the largest high, at that time it was the largest high school in the state of California. We had 4,000 kids. And we were the first 4-year letter winners in golf. But so we were decent as freshmen, but I didn't really get much better until sophomore. My junior year, I had a really good summer, and then I broke my finger and couldn't go to all the national tournaments I qualified for. So I didn't really have any great big junior wins. I just had a lot of like if that junior summer, I had maybe somewhere between 10 to 15 rounds in a row was at 72 or better. And so it just kind of was consistent, but not winning, right? So second, third, eighth, that type of thing, but no like great win to put on the mantle.
You were like Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Except I didn't get to FedEx Cup.
It's funny you mentioned the broken finger. I found an old article they wrote about you and your broken finger.
Really?
Yeah, and I was just amazed. I was like, I shattered my elbow when I was a sophomore in high school. No one cared. They didn't write an article about me. So I just realized that, okay.
I guess I got a better PR team.
I guess so.
If Tom was on the east side, it would have been written about. I can promise you right now.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah. If he was on the east side, it'd have been a big deal. Alex, talk to us a little bit about playing with your twin brother. How did that kind of add to your competitiveness? And then you're playing alongside him in college. That had to be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously fight like all brothers do, but I mean, he's been my best friend my whole life, still is today. And so that was a real blessing. I mean, when we moved from Michigan to California, starting 7th grade, the first time ever, like moving classrooms and not having just sitting in the same room all day long and quickly making friends. Like when I got the schedule in the mail, he got his schedule in the mail. We had 6 out of our 7 classes together. I was torn. I'm like, oh man, we're gonna be known as the twins. But I'm feeling like, at least I'm gonna know one kid in this classroom. And so if we've kind of been there to support each other for a really long time. And frankly, we had all the same friends growing up. We enjoyed doing all the same things. And, so playing golf with him was not, we didn't have like a conversation of, well, if I go to Pepperdine, are you going to go to Pepperdine? Oh yeah, I'm going to go to Pepperdine. There was never a conversation about let's form an agreement to go to the same college. But I think coaches viewed it that way. And who knows, maybe my dad behind the scenes was telling him that. But I think coaches just viewed us as a package deal. And so every recruiting trip we went on, we both went. Our stroke averages in high school were like a half shot apart. So, I mean, it's not like there was a wide discrepancy. Our grades were relatively similar. I always tell people, my brother had like a half point on the GPA and I had a half point on the stroke average. So, but I think we just got recruited as a package and never thought twice about it. But we were wise enough, I think, to not room together in college. Broadened the horizons a little bit. We were womb mates. We didn't need to be roommates. But it was great to have him, and we both were on the travel team all 4 years. We came in 1997, they won the national championship and we were seniors in high school. So and it was televised. Not all the years have been televised. But we watched it on TV and, that was a lot of fun to know that we were going to get to go to the defending national champions. And then everybody but one player graduated. So we got to slide right into the lineup.
Yeah, I was looking at the Pepperdine record book. You guys are truly twins. You played 119 rounds. You had a 75.01 average. He played 120, 75.37. So you got him there.
Yeah, I told you.
That's amazing. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit more about your time at Pepperdine. I mean, you guys played in a few national championships. I'm curious if you could go a little bit more in depth about some of the highlights when you were there.
Yeah. I would say our freshman year was tough. Not from it was very fun, but it was tough because we graduated. I mean, we graduated Jason Gore, who it would be the only real household name from a golf standpoint. Jason Gore, Andy Walker, and Michael Walton were all American all three All-Americans the previous year, and all three graduated. Well, actually, Andy stayed. Andy was a senior our freshman year, but Michael and Jason left, and of course, Jason went on to have We'll get to this obviously eventually, but in 2005, I was on Korn Ferry, and Jason was Player of the Year on Korn Ferry that year. Got a batted full promotion, shot a 59. Shot $1 million in the final round of the U.S. Open, but was in the final group with Michael Campbell, Pinehurst, and then went on to win the 84 Lumber. So like crazy year, but it was neat to have the guy that at Pepperdine who kind of like blazed the trail be also on with me on the Korn Ferry in 2005. But yeah, we graduated those guys, and so our freshman year was a struggle. Our first tournament, they used to do this, they don't do this anymore. But our first tournament was called the Preview, which would be the top 15 teams from nationals the previous year would play on the host golf course for that year. And so we played against the other 14 schools that were in the top 15 from nationals. So, my first college tournament, I remember I was paired in the final round with Steve Scott, who had just lost about a month earlier in the U.S. Amateur to Tiger. And that was kind of like crazy and eye-opening to me to be playing with Steve Scott. And I'll never forget it too. He had like 17 greens. We were at New Mexico. He had 17 greens and he shot like a 71. And he walked off the 18th green and he said, "Never in the history of the world has someone hit the ball so well and scored so poorly." And I don't know, it stuck with me. I never forgot it. But so freshman year was kind of a long year. We weren't competitive. We didn't win conference, which was unusual for us. We always won conference. But then sophomore year, we brought in Michael Beard, who's now a coach at Pepperdine, and Jason Allred. And they both were at least 3-time, if not 4-time All-Americans. And they played 1 and 2 ahead of my brother and I, 3 and 4 for basically the rest of the time. And that changed the team to have those guys at the top. And so we then won conference sophomore year, won conference junior year, won conference senior year. I think we had, myself and my brother, we were all conference all 3 of those years, our sophomore, junior, senior year. We won a couple of tournaments. In fact, I think one tournament we won at Asatiempo, which was an amazing golf course. I think we might have thrown out at one of the rounds. We threw out a 68 or a 69. So we got a lot better, and it became more fun when you're one of the ranked teams at the tournament instead of the team that used to be ranked.
Was Pepperdine in the WCC still back then?
Yes, yeah. Except we didn't have BYU, which got added for golf a little bit later. So we were truly the powerhouse. I mean, I remember our junior year, San Francisco had a decent team. Some local guys from California, and then San Diego had a decent team. And I remember our junior year, after the first round, we had like a 6-shot lead after the first round. We were having lunch, at some table in the dining room, and San Francisco's team was off at another table, and their coach said something to them along the lines of, "See, I told you guys that Pepperdine was beatable this year." And then after round 2, we had a 28-shot lead. So
don't mess with the wave, bro.
Exactly.
A small school like that, do you still have an impact on the program today? Like recruiting purposes? I know you went to college with the coach. Does he still keep in touch on a regular basis and whatnot?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm proud to say yes, because Michael, I've known Michael since I was 15 because he went to Palm Desert High School. So I've known him going all the way back to high school. He's obviously a year behind us. I've known him for a really long time. I would consider him to be a really close friend, and I have a lot of respect for Michael. Michael has done amazing things with the program. One of the things that he has is we have a group meet with all the alumni on it, and he will regularly send us out. Right now they're building an on-campus facility, like with indoor TrackMan and all that kind of stuff. He'll send us just picture updates, like where that stands. And then generally speaking, I'm proud also to say that, and this is not about volume. I'm not talking about number of dollars. I'm just talking about the number of people who still participate in the program. Pepperdine will have these annual giving days, and they'll do it specific to athletics. They'll be one that's specific to sports. And the golf program usually wins for the highest percentage of alumni contributing to the fund. So Michael's done a good job with that, keeping us all connected. And so much so that in 2021, I was playing the Northern Kentucky Amateur down at Lassing Point, And after the first round, checked my phone. Pepperdine made the finals of the NCAAs. So I withdrew from the tournament, bought a plane ticket, flew out to Scottsdale. And when I got there the next morning, had breakfast with 20 alumni, and we walked the golf course together and watched Pepperdine win the national championship in 2021. So it's a neat network. Even though it's a small school, it's a neat network. And, people have really done a nice job supporting Michael.
That's fantastic. So moving on to your professional days, at what point in your college career did you maybe think, hey, I could go professional in this? And could you talk a little bit more about, going professional?
So I went into college thinking I would try to go professional. And to be totally fair, I was a mid-tier recruit, right? I wasn't getting, Pepperdine's a good golf program now, and it's elite. They've built into that. And a lot of that is on the back of Michael. Back then we were an okay program. If you tell people you're going to Pepperdine, like, oh, you must be really good. Back then, going to Pepperdine, oh, you must be pretty good. So there's a distinction. And so, but I still felt like I had talent, and I felt like I was willing to work hard. So I went into college thinking, like, really, truly, I hate to say this, sorry to the provost and president of Pepperdine, but I was getting a degree in golf, not in public relations. At the end of the 4 years, they did give me a piece of paper that says I got a degree in public relations, but I felt like I was getting a degree in golf. And so, I just kind of went into it with that attitude. That's what I wanted to do. And, when I graduated, I didn't really spend much time thinking about it. Pepperdine graduates in April, so we were out of school before NCAA regionals. And so we still had some college golf to play, but by the time NCAAs were over, I think I played my first professional tournament in June of that year. So I didn't hesitate. I dove right into it. So it was always kind of my intention to give it a shot. And frankly, my golf career gave me in college gave me the belief that I could. I shot a lot of low scores, but then I would follow them up with bigger numbers. And I thought, well, if I can get better at that, because not a lot of people can shoot 64, a lot of people can shoot 70. So if I can take my 64-75 and turn it into a 64-70, that's how you win tournaments. And I never won a college tournament, but I had multiple events my senior year where I shot the low round of the tournament, and then I would follow it up with a number that was not as good. So I'm like, if I can learn, which I'm hoping I can, then I have a shot to be a decent pro.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your journey as a professional golfer, and then kind of you reading the tea leaves a little bit and moving on to the next step in your career?
Sure. And so in 01 is when I turned pro and I graduated. My first, this is kind of this is a fun story for me about athletics or everybody else, but my first professional tournament was back at Burning Tree Country Club, back in Decatur, Alabama, not Burning Tree Country Club, but back in Decatur, Alabama, where I learned to play. And so, my college roommate, was from Atlanta. And so he had come to Atlanta, and he was like, hey, my parents would love to have you come out and visit us before our lives kick off and get crazy for adults. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. But what if we went over to this tournament in Alabama and played that? He's like, great, I'll caddy for it. So I flew into Atlanta, and we drove over to Alabama and played in a Hooters tour event. I had a Monday qualified for a Hooters event, played in it in the town that I, first learned to play golf, on probably the second golf course I ever played, called Point Mallard. And I Monday qualified, got into the tournament, made the cut. Then I got pulled. I was chipping after the round, and the Hooters tour rules official came over to me and said, hey, I got a question for you. I'm like, yeah. He goes, did you lift, clean, and place your ball at an alternate fairway? I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, oh, it's such and such hole. Long story short, it was lift, clean, and place in all closely known areas on your hole. And I did lift, clean, and place on a closely known area on another hole. And I signed for an incorrect scorecard. He got DQ'd in my first professional tournament. And so that was like a rough start to the business, because I went from thinking I was making my first ever, check, to this entire trip was a waste of money. I didn't make anything. And so I flew home dejected, and then went out and played. The very next week, I played my first event in California. There's a tour out there called the Golden State Tour, and I won that event. So, so I'd won my second start as a pro. It was only a 36 hole event, but I shot a final round 64 and came from like 4 shots back to win it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep going. I can do this. So I played throughout the summer, played some stuff, and then went to Q school. Back then, it was like 3 stages. There was no pre-qual. So I went to Q school, went to the first stage, finished second at first stage. The only person who beat me was Luke Donald. Went to second stage. So second stage, by that time, back then at second stage, you're playing for either a Corn Ferry card or a PE Tour card. If you get through second stage, you're getting one or the other. So I went to second stage, got my head kicked in, and then decided to play the Hooters Tour full time the next year. So in 2002, I went out and played the Hooters Tour and started the season. After, this is kind of crazy to me too, as I think back on it. Made my first cut like straight out of college. Then the next year, 2002, after I've been playing, working with my teacher and all that kind of stuff, I go out and start the year and I miss like 6 cuts in a row. Can't figure it out. Don't know why. I don't know if it's Bermuda grass. I don't know if it's, traveling by myself for the first time, whatever it is. I can't figure it out. I missed like 6 cuts in a row. And then when I finally made one, I almost won. And it was just kind of like, oh, okay. The confidence clicked, everything clicked. And then I ran off a bunch of cuts in a row and finished the year with like a top 20 in the Tour Championship. Went back to Q school again at the end of 2002, same site, finished second again at first stage of Q school. That year was won by a guy named Patrick Moore, who went on to be Player of the Year the following year on Corn Ferry. And I went to second stage, got my head kicked in again. It was blowing like 40 miles an hour, and I shot it in. I'm a high ball hitter. I spin the ball a bunch. I still spin it too much. And Steve Pate was there. Steve Pate practiced at the golf course that we practiced at Pepperdine, and he shot some good numbers. So I went up to Steve and I'm like, Steve, you've got to help me. Like, I can't play in the wind. Like, what am I supposed to do? And he gave me some tips on, basically swinging easier and hitting the ball with dead hands and this, that. And so fast forward 2004, I come back, or excuse me, 2003, I come back, same situation, get through first stage, go there for that phase, and the wind blows, and I do what Steve said, and I get through, and that's how I got status in Empire. So, but I also skipped a cool part of the story, which is I got to play in Asia for a year. After I missed Q school in 2003, I went to Q school in Asia, and first time out of the country by myself. I'd driven into Canada with my mom, and I had driven into Mexico with my dad, and that was it. And I decided to go to Malaysia for Q school. And I thought I was going to get off the plane and just not know what was going on, not have a clue, and just be challenged completely. And I flew over there on this flight from, I think I went LA, San Francisco, Kuala Lumpur. And I got off the plane in Kuala Lumpur, and every sign was in Malay, but also every sign was in English. And I thought, all right, I got a shot. So I got my Asian card, and I played, I always tell people I played like 9 national opens, just none of them are US Opens. So I played the Macau Open and the Thai Open and the Indian Open and the Taiwan Open and the China Open and the Myanmar Open, and had a great time over there. But I only got 7 starts because I was a rookie. You give me starts. I made 5 out of 7 cuts. Only kept conditional status in 2003, so I didn't go back. And then in 2004, the Spanos Tour started, which was founded by Alex Spanos, who owned the Chargers, and he loved golf. And that tour started in California, so I played that and had a great year, made a decent amount of money, won an event, finished I think second to a championship, and had a lot of confidence. And that's when I went into Q school on Steve Pate's advice on a windy day, and played decent and made it through. And I had a big par on my last hole. It was like a 470-yard par 4. I needed par to get to finals, and I did it. So
I wanted to ask you about the golf scene in Asia. Were those tournaments well attended? Was the game growing at that point? Because it's just so curious for me what it was like for you over there.
it depended on the event. For example, the biggest event I played was the Volvo China Open. It was in Shanghai, but the golf course was like an hour and 15-minute bus ride from our hotel. So it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So there weren't a lot of spectators. And I made the cut, and I don't remember seeing a lot of people around on the weekends. And that was probably the only trip that I took that I didn't get to enjoy the culture because the bus ride was so long. They'd only run like 2 buses each morning. So you had to like catch the bus at like 6 a.m. You'd be on the bus for an hour and 15 minutes. You'd want to eat your breakfast, warm up, play around, eat your lunch, practice afterwards, and then the bus is leaving again at 5. I was beat, and I didn't get to experience any of Shanghai, which was kind of a bummer. everywhere else I went, I tried to soak in some of the culture. Um, but then you had events like the Indian Open that there was tons of people. Now, part of that was I think the game was growing in India at that time. The game was '03, and it was so they play it at Delhi Golf and Country Club. And this place is so tight, it's so firm. Like if you get a 7-iron going offline, it's going to bounce and go into something that you don't want your ball to go into. So the first day I shot 73 with like 3 lost balls, and so I get up on the 10th tee. I started the 10th tee the second day. And, these caddies, they make like $5 a day, but when we're there, they're making $100 a day, so they want you to play as much golf as you possibly can that week. Right. So I tee off on 10 to start my second round, and I hook it into the crap again and lose my ball. And he's pissed, and he takes 3 wood out of my hand and he hands me my 2-iron. He's like, this, and I did not hit another wood the rest of the day. I made 8 birdies. I shot 66. Next day I shot 69. And I ended up in the second to last group of the Indian Open on my cat. Who knew that I needed a caddy in India that he should fix my game? But I ended up in the second to last group in the India Open, and I was paired with Arjun Atwal, and the group behind us had Jyoti Randhawa. So they were both ranked like top 200 in the world at that point in time, and they were 1 and 2 in India, and so the galleries were enormous because we're right in the heart of Delhi. The galleries were enormous, biggest galleries I've played in front of by far. And they did the old school, like British Open ropes, So Arjun would tee off, and then they didn't care about, I was playing with me, Arjun at James Kingston in South Africa. They didn't care about me and James. As soon as Arjun teed off, the galleries were going, and we were just hitting balls over people's heads. I mean, just trying to figure it out. Needless to say, it wasn't my best round. I think I shot like a 76 the last day, but it was a really neat experience. And so that, but very different than China, where it was a bigger event with more players, more guys from Europe, but no galleries because it was outside the city. Now we're in the heart of Delhi, and the 2 most famous Indian golfers are there, and there's just people everywhere. So it was, the experiences were very, very different depending on what the event was and where it was located. For example, like I played the Macau Open. Macau has like 2 golf courses. Nobody knows anything about golf. My caddy there is a college student who had never been on the golf course before, didn't speak English. And, I would go to my ball, I'd pull out my yardage book to pace off my yardage, and he'd follow me as I walked into the fairway with a scraper head, to follow me back to my ball. And then, so it's just like, they didn't have any education about golf whatsoever. He might've been a brilliant guy, but he didn't know anything about golf. And so that was a wild experience. Right. And then, like in Myanmar, it was a military state. So there was guys with machine guns all over the golf course when we were playing in Myanmar. So, every event was different. We didn't know what to expect when we got there. It was an adventure.
Sounds like it. That's unbelievable. So transitioning out of your professional career, I guess, kind of what was the end? What made you decide to stop, playing professionally? And I'm sure that kind of leads you to kind of what got you here to Cincinnati.
It's exactly how I got to Cincinnati. So I ultimately ended up moving from California to Texas, and I lived in Fort Worth. So what I found was when I came back from Asia, like I started playing Hooters again and the Spanish tour, I could never get home because getting back to Redwoods was not easy. And I lived in Hot Springs for a while. And so you'd play a tournament in Mississippi. If you missed the cut, like the next event's in, St. Louis, like you're not going back to California. But if I lived in Texas, I could. So I moved to Fort Worth with the idea being I could fly direct basically anywhere I wanted to go, and I would be able to have more downtime at my house instead of downtime in a day's end. And so that's what I did. And then my dad, I thought I was going to like find some public course and pay some fee to, just use the driving range or whatever. My dad was like, why don't you just go to Colonial and ask them what the deal is? And so I went over there, and it was $6,000 to join as a junior member. My dad was like, well, I'll give you the $6,000 if you want to join as a junior member. I'm like, seriously? He's like, yeah. I'm like, so, well, that's what I'm doing. So I joined Colonial as a junior member, and I still love Colonial. I love the people at Colonial. It's just such a great golf club. The people there are so educated on the game because they've been hosting that tournament since 1940. It's the longest running golf tournament on the same golf course on the PGA Tour other than the Masters, which people don't know. And it's a great golf course. sits on a neat piece of land, really cool routing, lots of shot shaping. And that was just a really fun 3 years to be there. When I would come home from a tournament, my practice was at Colonial. It was great. And so I was having some pretty good success. I won the Guatemala International Open while I was there, which was actually a Hooters Tour event that Hooters sponsored down there. But I won the Guatemala International Open. He got edged Chris Stroud by one shot. And then a few weeks, 6-7 weeks later, this U.S. Pro Golf Tour started, which I don't know if you guys followed mini tour golf back then, but the U.S. Pro Golf Tour basically overfunded tournaments. So they had $300,000 purses with entry fees that were $300 or $400 less than Hooters Tour events that were $200,000 purses. So Hooters Tour, you'd pay $1,000 to play, it'd be a $200,000 purse. With the U.S. Pro Golf Tour, you'd play $650 to play, it'd be a $300,000 purse. So everybody was playing it. And I had a good season out there. And one of the events they had, this is a bit of a taboo subject to depending on who you ask, but they have an event called the Trump $1 Million Invitational, which was a made for TV event on ESPN. And I was one of the guys that qualified for the shootout. So they had 54 holes of stroke play, and the top 10 from the 54 holes of stroke play went into a shootout for $1.5 million. And I finished fifth. I birdied 3 out of the first 6 holes, but parred the 6th and got eliminated. And so so I finished fifth in that. So I win the Guatemala. I finished fifth in that. So I made I thought I was rich. I made like $100,000 in 6 weeks. And then of course, golf is golf, and I struggled for 6 weeks, because people don't realize. I remember when I first got out of college, I would make $2,200 in a week, and I'd be a friend who was making, $40,000 working at a big 5 accounting firm would be like, nice week. And I'd be like, yeah, except I spent $2,000. So I really made nothing, and that's kind of how it went for a while that summer, which made me realize, like, man, this golf thing, even when you're hot, you don't know how long it's going to last. So I came out, that was in 06. In 07, I was playing well again. I won a tournament on the Tight Lies Tour in New Mexico, shot 24 under par, and won by a bunch of shots. Can't remember how many. And I thought, okay, I've really got this thing by the tail. I'm figuring it out. Like, I'm going to get my Corn Ferry card back, whatever. And long story short, I got an injury. I got pneumonia, and I tore my oblique muscle from off it, and sidelined me for a while, and a couple of months. In my game, I couldn't do anything. I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to make the best of this. My short game's going to be dialed. Like, I'm going to be the best chipper and putter out there. It hurt to chip and putt. So I really didn't do anything for like 2 or 3 months, and then my game kind of fell apart. And right about that time, I was introduced to my wife, and thought, this is the off ramp. It's time to exit. She's from Cincinnati, and now here we are today.
Obliques are no joke. Tom witnessed me go down with an oblique. Oh,
I remember.
Oh, I'll never look at 18 at Miami Whitewater the same ever again.
Sure.
Alex, talk to us about the Cincinnati golf scene. We kind of want to dive into your experience with the GCGA here eventually, but how good is the Cincinnati golf scene coming from you? It's a credible source, and talk to us about the advantages that Cincinnati golf scene brings.
Yeah, I was surprised, actually. I didn't pay attention to amateur golf much, because I went from college golf and college events and those types of amateur tournaments straight into professional tournaments. And then, when I moved here, I started law school and didn't play golf at all for like 3 or 4 years. And so I played like 3 scrambles a year. So I didn't pay attention to the golf scene. And then one day I just decided, after I got out of law school, I was like, you've spent so much time in your life playing golf and you loved it. Like, it's time to probably look back into it again. So what's going on around town? So then I started looking at the GCGA and signed up to play some events. My first ever GCGA event was the 2016 Met, when I lost in the finals to Alex Eagle. And I was surprised how many, solid college players there were. I was surprised to learn. I didn't know anything about Robert. I didn't know anything about Billy Williamson. I didn't know about all these guys. I didn't know about, Ed Stiver and Tim Sorrows and these guys who had just solid games in their, in their at that point in time 50s. I guess Tim and Ed are probably in their 60s now, but you know uh, I just didn't know about any of these guys, and I was surprised to see how many solid sticks there were. Brad Wilder. I mean, I could name a bunch of different people. So I was kind of caught off guard by the number of good players that there were in the area. Um, and then I was pleasantly surprised by the quality of the events. Todd does a really nice job running these tournaments. And Jared does a great job helping him out. And Todd's had good support all along the way, but that's the current makeup of it. He does a nice job with the interns they take in and giving them good exposure to golf. There's all they just I can the signage is good. The course setups are good. Like they listen to the players, they get input. Like they just do a nice job. They do fun events like the North South. We did the tri-state where it's Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. We do the competition against the Cleveland and Columbus folks. So they do the pro-am matches. Like it's just it's a really nicely run golf association.
There's some real lifers in the GCGA that just been dominating for years. I know I alluded to it earlier. Like I said, you're on that list now of just people that just keep dominating the leaderboards. I'm curious, and I'm sure people might wonder, when you were a professional to going to an amateur, I know you said you stopped playing for a few years when you went to law school. What was that process like back then? And maybe a little bit different now in getting reinstated and being able to play.
Yeah. So once I started law school, I went to UC. And when I started law school, I was just like, well, this makes no sense to stay a pro. So I just looked into it briefly, and it was pretty simple. I mean, USGA manages that, and I just reached out to them and said, what do I got to do? And they said, don't play any professional tournaments for 2 years, and then send us a letter saying you haven't played any professional tournaments for 2 years, and then you can have your amateur status back. So I was like, well, that's easy because I'm going to be with my face in a law book for the next 3 years anyway. So that's what I did. I just sent a letter to the USGA saying I haven't competed in 2 years. My last professional event was, this. And I got a letter in the mail basically saying, that I've been reinstated as an amateur. So it was an incredibly simple process. Back then, they didn't even ask, like, how good are you? It's just like, when was the last time you played? I think now they do it a little bit more. I've heard it's a little bit more onerous, where it's like, if you played the PGA Tour, your wait time might be longer than if you are a guy who decided to give it a shot for a year. It didn't work out. So, but yeah, back then it was very simple. I just contacted the USGA and asked for their blessing, and they gave it to me.
How, when you came to Cincinnati, you got to learn a lot about the country clubs, I'm sure, in your time here. Talk to us about how you picked where you were at and just how cool it was going on that experience.
So I actually played Mac in 2000. I believe one of my last professional events that I entered was the 2008 Open Qualifier Mac. And the golf course has changed a lot in the last 18 years. But I like old clubs. I love golf architecture. I would rather play an old golf course than a new golf course any day. That doesn't mean there's not good new golf courses. But I just think, going out to Maketewah, knowing that, Barney Kroger drove up Reading Road or whatever he did, up Reading Road, took a train, horse and carriage, I don't know what he did, but drove up Reading Road and saw 5 dairy farms off to the west up the road and thought that would make a neat golf course. And then he brought in somebody with no bulldozer and, no technology to just take what God had given him with the earth and design a piece of property that would become a golf course. I just find that so fascinating. And so I think it's cool to go to an old golf course, whether it's Mac, Camargo, Hyde Park, whatever the case may be, and just look at it and go, if I was standing here with nothing but a topographical map in 1910, like, could I have done this? I just think it's remarkable. I mean, I think they truly are artists, and I view all these golf courses as pieces of art. And so, my fascination started with the older clubs because that's what I preferred. And I'll be honest, I didn't really learn that until I got to Colonial. I mean, Colonial kind of opened my eyes to that and understanding the history of a golf course and why it's significant. But it was with respect to why I ended up joining at Maketewah. So I also like living in old neighborhoods. So we live in Oakley. And so like, I like living in old houses where things are walkable and enjoy that. So proximity was part of it. But when I graduated law school, I was like, I'm a lawyer now, and everybody says lawyers work their tails off. So maybe I shouldn't spend a bunch of money on a country club straight away. So I actually joined Ivy Hills first because they were having a downturn back then. I think they're doing a little bit better now, but they were having a downturn. And I joined Ivy because it was affordable. I knew a couple people out there, and I was there for about 18 months and realized how much I was enjoying playing golf again. And kind of had always thought I would end up at Mac at some point. And not a knock on Ivy to leave, but Mac was more my style. I like older golf courses, proximity to the house, etc. And so in 2000 and let's see what year it was, 2014, we joined Mac. So it was basically old golf course, proximity to the house, and a neat layout. And Mac has the reputation of being a players club. And so that was part of it as well, is that I knew I could find people to play golf with.
Sure. And I love the new renovation. I think they just did a fantastic job with that.
Well, I think Brian, it took a long time to get it done, right? Because we didn't have the money originally to do it all at once. Brian was faithful. Brian Silva was faithful and coming back and supporting us on a project for years. And I had the boyhood dream of being a golf course architect, right? I mean, I used to sit at home and draw golf courses when my parents would watch TV, like probably hundreds and hundreds of holes. And I'm our greens chairman and got to oversee the project with Brian for the last phase of the renovation. And that was really fun for me.
Sure. My last question for you, you've dominated a lot of events here. You're 5-time Mid-Am champ. You've had some, you've won the Met. You've had a couple runner-up finishes. Played professionally. I'm curious, what's kind of an important lesson that you feel like you've learned from golf that you could share with kind of the junior golfers, here in the city?
I think the lesson that always comes back to me, I get asked this question every now and then, and it's golf in life is the more valuable lesson here for me. I've realized that if you are a person who's driven to do things well, that balance is incredibly important. And so I didn't really learn it in Pepperdine. It's where I experienced it. It was at Pepperdine. And then I later thought about my life at Pepperdine. Well, why did it go this way or why did it go that way? And what I realized was when you're in college as a college golfer, when you're in college, you have, the way I view it is you have three obligations. You have the obligation to your golf team. You have an obligation to your academics, and then you have an obligation to kind of like build your life, make your friends, hopefully they're lifelong friends, mine were, and kind of like enjoy being in college because you only get to do it for a limited amount of time. And so what I've kind of learned from all that is that you can only really truly be excellent at two things. I don't think you can really truly be excellent at three things all at once unless you're like supremely gifted. And there are people who are, and I'm not one of them. I'm a moderately gifted person. And so, in that aspect, like when I went to school, I went into school thinking our coach would make us write down goals every year. What's your goal? I'm gonna be an All-American. I was never an All-American. I was 3-time All-Conference. Academically, what was your goal? Well, I want to be an academic All-American. I actually was never an academic All-American because when I went into school, high school was relatively easy for me. I had no study habits. I didn't know how to prepare. Now suddenly school is hard. How do I prepare myself? So I was an average student. I made the honor roll on the back end of school, but I wasn't exceptional. And then, did I build friendships? I did build lasting friendships, but I also did it in moderation. I did not view college as a time to go nuts. I viewed it as a time to deepen relationships and build into people and build it to myself. So like I did all the three of those things in moderation. Now, as a professional person, I realize that in golf was always my primary focus. And that's why I attribute this lesson to being part of golf, because I would look at golf and say, why am I not getting better? This, that, and the other thing. Every single year when Pepperdine would end in April, I would suddenly become, I'm not going to say the best player on the team, but close to the best player on the team because I didn't have to worry about school anymore. And I could just focus my attention on golf, and my scores would drop a shot and a half a round because golf was the only thing going on. I'd have good summers. play good in the North-South end, play good in the Pacific Northwest end, that type of thing. And what I take away from all that is, if you want to be good at something, you have to make it one of two priorities. You have to build it to that thing to make it one of your two top priorities. So if a kid says, I want to be an exceptional junior golfer, and their parents have a standard for them with respect to academics, then those are probably your two things. And when your friends are out doing something on Saturday, you're going to be sleeping. And when your friends go on spring break, you're going to be working with your teacher. And when your friends, maybe make the irresponsible choice to drink before they should, you're not going to do that. Like, that's the sacrifices you have to make if you want to be exceptional at something. And if you just want golf to be your hobby, that's fine too. Then you can have some balance in your life a little bit more. And so I look at that now in my life, and I obviously have an obligation to my family that's first and foremost. And then secondarily, I look at my practice of law. That's how I take care of my family, and I take pride in what I do. So those are my two priorities now. And then golf ends up being, I'll be as good at golf as my priorities align with being good for my family and not good at my job first. And I think that's the lesson I learned, is how to balance your priorities and understand that you have to put the attention where it belongs.
Tom and I really get to enjoy talking to you guys who've been successful in the way that you have been, because I think the thing that you guys explain and inherently through this is longevity. If you want to stay in the game, that balance is just critical to being successful in everything you do and having success and longevity. So thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it's a lesson I try to teach my kids, but so far I'm just still dumb dad. I think when they're 20s, they're going to look back and be like, oh, he had said a couple of things that were smart when we were little. So we'll see.
I don't have any further questions. I think that it's a good time to do the Cincinnati 9 if you're up to it, Tom.
Sure. Well, before we get to that, I know we wanted to ask Alex, you are involved with the LPGA event out at Mac. We do plan to have a future episode, so look out for that closer to the event. But I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your role and, what you got upcoming for that.
Sure. We're excited. And some of that, for me, excitement stuff extends all the way back to my time at Colonial, how excited the members would get to host that event. And I think we wanted to be measured about whether or not it was the right move for our club, and we spent a lot of time thinking about it. And I've been on the board for 3 years, so we spent a lot of time thinking about this. We sent it to a member vote. The members voted that yes, at a pretty high majority that they agreed it would be a good idea to host. And so with that in mind, my passion for it has become pretty high, because if we're going to host, I want to do a great job. So I'm the tournament chairman on behalf of the club, which means I've been doing a lot of lifting on it, in the first 90 days, or I should say the last 90 days. But eventually, most of that heavy lifting is going to shift over to the company that operates the event called Outlier, which they're awesome. They run a lot of events. They run 8 or 9 tournaments, including, I think they run the Women's British Open and a few others. And they've been really professional and really helpful. But yeah, my role will just kind of be coordinating the club side of it all and making sure that they have what they need to make it as good of an event for the players, and we'll make it as good of an event as we can for the members.
That's great. Well, again, look out for that episode. I can't wait to talk more about it. I'm looking forward to the event being at Mac and seeing how the ladies handle that for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to see them play.
No doubt about it. Moving on to our Cincinnati 9 today. 9 rapid fire questions. Alex, if you don't answer them totally rapid fire, totally okay. They don't always end up that way. So our first question, and I feel like I know the answer to this question, but your favorite Cincinnati area golf course?
Well, I'm putting it for you a curveball probably. So I've got my head choice and my heart choice. My heart choice is Maketewah for sure. And frankly, I think Maketewah is number 2 in the city. That's my personal opinion. One thing I love about Maketewah, almost every hole at Maketewah has a ground feature or something that you can only find at Maketewah. I mean, I tell people, if you picked up Maketewah and dropped it somewhere else, it would not be Maketewah. Like, there are some golf courses, like, this is a terrible example, but Reeves, right? Like, it's flat. You could pick up Reeves and drop it somewhere else on a flat piece of land, and it would still be Reeves. Maketewah has so many cool ground features that without those ground features, it's no longer Maketewah. It's a unique 18 holes. All 18 holes are cool and different. No two shots are the same. It's great. But I think personally, the best golf course in the state of Ohio is Camargo. It's just outstanding. The bunkering is super dramatic. The templates are really, really cool. The green complexes are really exciting. They've got lots of land, and so nothing feels cramped or out of place. I just think Camargo is the best golf course in the state of Ohio.
Popular opinion there. Favorite Cincinnati area golf hole?
That's a good one too. I'll have to do a dual answer on this one again, but I'd say at Camargo, the Redan is just outstanding at Camargo. I mean, if you've never played a Redan before, you get to that one and you're like, what is this? This is crazy. And, it's just outstanding. I mean, all the par threes at Camargo are a really cool collection. I think actually 11 at Camargo is the best short I've ever played. And I think if you took Camargo and you put it where Fisher's Island is, it would be ranked higher than Fisher's Island is right now, right? Like the only thing Camargo doesn't have, some of the other Seth Rayner golf courses or McDonald golf courses have is an address that's not Cincinnati. Otherwise, it would be considered even in the higher cotton than it currently is. It's highly regarded, but I think it would be even higher regarded if it was not in a smaller Midwest town compared to some of the others. So I would say 11 or 15 at Camargo, and then I think 17 at Maketewah is just stunning. I mean, the blind tee shot, you come over the top of the hill, the green set into the side of the 18th tee, 14th tee, the bunkering there is really, really good. And again, so unique. Like you will never play 17 at Maketewah anywhere else. No hole looks like it. No hole plays like it. Even just the subtle shift in the fairway to where, if you aim straight down the middle of the fairway that you can see, you're actually not going to be in the fairway. It's a shuttle shift down below. Like all those little architectural features are awesome to me. So I'd say those are my favorite holes in the city.
I love that. I don't get enough love for 17. I like that answer a lot.
It's awesome.
I agree. It's a good hole. Favorite snack shack item, whether it's from a specific course or in general, what you like to grab at the turn when you do grab something.
I think so. I really enjoy clubs that pay attention to these types of little details. Whether it's the type of snack shack, like the windmill at Pine Valley is really neat, but there's not that particular treat there that I'm drawn to. But the one that I think always pops out of my mind, and it's like, remember if you've been there, is at Congaree in South Carolina. They have, first of all, every building looks the same. They have there are all these little white buildings. So they're uniform, but not to the point of like feeling like mundane, like they're cool and distinct. But they have a small little white snack shack after the 10th tee there. And they tell you, but when you get on property, don't forget to get a meat pie. And then when you get to number 10, you get in there, they have like these 4 or 5 different kinds of meat pies with 6 or 7 different kinds of mustard. And they're good. I mean, I'm not saying it's like life changing. I mean, it's not like the first time you have a ruby steak, but it's good, but it's unique. And that's what I love about it. I'll never forget it. Like I may never go back to Congaree again. Maybe I will, but I'll always remember that I had a beef pie at Congaree. That's probably my favorite snack at the turn.
It's like our buddy Beebs at Mid Pines with the chili dog, Tom.
That's right. Sure.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's neat when clubs are associated with something like that. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows Muirfield has great milkshakes. Like, I would love for us to come. We don't have something like that at Maketewah right now, but I would love for 10 years from now to be checking in with you guys and be like, hey, have you had the Maketewah this? I don't know what it is, but I'd love to have something like that.
It's like, what does Olympic have? Is it the Burger Dog? The Olympic Club, they have something like that. It's very famous. Every time they have an event out there, they love to have a nice 6-minute piece on the item. I know that.
Well, Clover Nook has the Nook Burger, right?
News to me. I have not had a meal there.
Well,
I've just shot like 85 like a billion times.
Okay, I'll drop that subject then. But Alex, dream Cincinnati foursome must be people with a connection to the city, living or dead.
As someone who didn't grow up here, even though I do love our sports, I think my dream foursome would actually be one hole, and I'll explain what I mean. So my dream foursome would probably be, because as a guy who keeps a relatively low cap, like doing well in net tournaments is almost impossible. but I would love to play in the Cincinnati member called the Layton, or the Maketewah member called the Layton Cup with my partner Jack Weston. I would love to get to the 18th green, which is where the final two teams are there. And so that would be my foursome for one hole, the finals of the shootout with Jack Weston and whoever can make it to the 18th green with us. That would be my dream foursome for one hole.
I like it. I like it a lot. Favorite non-golf related thing to do in the Cincinnati area?
Well, I'll tell you this. I really enjoy Cincinnati for a variety of reasons, but like I enjoy towns this size. You know, like where I grew up, going into LA to do. I mean, yes, LA has a billion things going on, but going into town was like my parents did not want to get on the highway and deal with all that. So, like, I've never been to the LA Zoo, for example. My kids have been to the Cincinnati Zoo more times than we can count. You know, so I love the fact that Cincinnati offers the ability to be at a Reds game and be out of your seat and back at your house in under 30 minutes. You can't get out of Chavez Ravine in under an hour, right? And then you got to drive an hour home. So I love the amenities that this city has. I love our sports. I love the college sports too. I mean, you see football because Trevor I didn't have football. I mean, UC football is really fun for me. But I would say I think our food scene's great. I love going out to dinner with friends and grabbing a cocktail afterwards. But I'd say probably my favorite thing to do in Cincinnati is play golf in the morning if I can with my buddies on Saturday, and then go to the pool and hang out with my family in the afternoon. That's the best day I could possibly have.
I love it. That might lead into our next one. Do you prefer an early morning 9 or an evening 9?
I would say I prefer a morning 18 and evening 9. There's a distinction.
Oh, double dip. Let's go.
I think an evening 9 at 4:00, you know, as the sun's starting to go down a little bit lower, you know, is awesome. And even by yourself, like I like walking 9 holes by myself, or going out with people or, you know, whatever. But I think an evening 9, but morning 18.
It's a good answer. You might just eliminate that question forever now. I mean, that's perfect.
Well, I mean, you know, if I make the turn at 10, why wouldn't I keep going?
Sure.
That's right.
That's a good point. Right. Favorite club in the bag?
I would say this is not because it's my best club, but it's the club that gets the most momentum. Is the putter. I mean, like, there's nothing more fun. I can pound a drive and hit a wedge to 4 feet, but if I miss the putt, I leave the green dejected. I could slice a drive into the woods and smack an iron up to 30 feet. If I make the 30-footer, I'm excited. So the putter just controls so much momentum of the game. And I always tell people, junior golfers, you asked about advice to junior golfers earlier. I tell them, every time you have a good putting round, you shoot a good score. Every time. There is no exception. You cannot tell me that you had 27 putts and shot at a score you didn't like. It's impossible. So if you want to, you know, make sure that you're consistently shooting scores you're happy about, work on your putting. Because every time you putt well, you're happy.
Do you have an iconic putter that you use, or has it been a long stay, or do you like to change?
My putter is one season in at this point. I had a putter that I had used for like 14 years, and I was down in I won like every GCGA event I won with that putter. And I was down in South Carolina. I go to Higg Point every November to play at Pro-Am down there with some buddies. And in the practice round, I was putting bad, and I did one of those, like, you know, throw your ball up in the air and swing at it like a baseball type thing, and where you always miss, and then you go to the next tee. Well, I didn't miss. I connected, and it went 200 yards off into the marsh, and my putter has never looked right since. And I played with it the next day, and I shot a 65. I'm like, I'm just going to make it work. It's not that bad. But then the beginning of last season, it just looked so terrible to me. I was up playing in the Nipper at Moraine, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And I went in the pro shop and I bought a Ping B60. And I'd had a B60 when I was like 8. So that's what I got. And I like it. And I putted decent with it last year. Not as good as I did with the previous putter. Hopefully it warms up for me in 2026.
Love it. Favorite Cincinnati sports moment you've witnessed in person or on TV?
I mean, even though we lost this, I'm a huge Bengals fan. So growing up in California, like, the Raiders and Rams left when we were there, and Sunday afternoon, like I didn't go home and watch football anyways. I mean, it was a Sunday in November in Redlands is probably 66 to 72 degrees. Like I went to the golf course. So football, even though I enjoyed the game, like I might watch Monday night football, but I wasn't skipping golf to watch football. So I never really got all that tied to the Rams or the Raiders. But when I moved here and, a day in November it's 32 degrees, I'm like, I'm going to watch the Bengals every Sunday. And so I do. I watch every game. And so even though we lost the Super Bowl, I mean, it was a great game. It was super exciting. I loved that. And then I actually went the following year, I went to the home playoff game against Baltimore. And, we're all thinking we're going to win the Super Bowl again and, or go to the Super Bowl again. And, so that game was probably my most fun in person, watching it. But the Super Bowl was probably my most fun on TV. And I will also say my son is a hell of a swimmer. And so, watching him swim is fun too.
Sure. Last question. What's your most memorable golf moment or shot at a course here in the area?
Amazingly, like stuff doesn't. Lots of things flood back, and not one single shot stands out as on its own like remarkable. I mean, I remember in the year I won the Met at Hamilton Elks, I was in that front bunker short of number 8, like 20 yards short of the green, tough sand shot. And I hit a great sand shot, kept the momentum, had the lead, and ended up being able to win that, Met. And like, is that the shot I would say the most memorable? I don't know. Like, I think the most remarkable story that doesn't come with a tournament win is I was playing at Maketewah. We had something called the Governor's Cup, which is like a full club round robin. It's a net tournament. And I was in, I don't know what round it was, third or fourth round. And I got paired against a friend and I had to give him 14 shots or something like that. And I shot 30 on the front 9. I was 1 up. And, but I included on the front 9, I hold out on number 4 from like 104 yards. So I had a hole out and I shoot 30 and I'm 1 up. And then I end up getting I win number 10, number 11, number 13, something like that. So I'm 4 up standing on the 14th tee. And then he net birdied 14, 15, 16, and 17. So we get to 18 and we're all square after I was 4 up with 5 to play. And if you played Maketewah, 18's a par 3. And he hits it on the green and, momentum of winning 4 holes in a row. And then I got a hole in one.
Good.
That's how I closed out the day. That was probably my most, if I even say my most memorable shot, that's probably my most memorable shot.
Take that.
That is spectacular. How many hole-in-ones do you have? That's not your only one, I hope.
I've got 5.
Okay.
I was on a long drought before that one went in. My first one was in college, at the University of Washington's tournament. And then I had one as a pro in the Golden State tournament that I mentioned earlier, that tour. Then I had one in a practice round for a Corn Ferry event at Midland Country Club in Midland, Texas, that I chunked terribly and landed like 20 yards short of the green and then rolled in the hole. And then I had one at Colonial. Colonial's got the horrible horseshoe. In the 4th hole's 246-yard par 3. And I was out there playing with a buddy and I hit it. And he said, "Did you hit 2-iron?" This is while the ball's in the air. I'm like holding my finish. He says, "You hit 2-iron?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You hit it pure?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Is it a hole in one?" I said, "Yeah." And then land on the green and win in the hole. So that was those are my 5 hole in ones. So those 4 plus the one at Maketewah. And I've got at Colonial during that time, they were taking out the old granite monuments in the ground that marked the yardage. And so they wanted to go back to just the old original black brass plates that just had the number on it to give it kind of more original feel. And so I went into the pro shop and said, "Hey, what are we doing with the old monuments?" And they said, "Well, we're going to just toss it." And I said, "Well, hold the one out of the back tee for me. I want to keep it because I just aced number 4." And I thought, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And it's sitting about 6 feet from me right now.
That's awesome.
So, and then I ended up getting the old one from Maketewah as well, the tee box. So I have 2 of the monuments on the whole side. I had par 3, on the par 3s, I have hole in one side.
That's spectacular. Normally you just keep the ball, but let's just keep the yardage marker.
I have no idea where the balls are, but I have the yardage.
Pretty sweet though. I'd rather have what you have. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's pretty neat. Well, we'll wrap this one up. Again, look out for our next episode with Alex. We will discuss more about the LPGA event out at Maketewah. Like I said, that'll be probably closer to April or May that will be released. So keep a lookout for that. But Alex, thank you for joining us today. Like I said, it was awesome to learn more about you. We're happy to have you, and we're looking forward to having you on again soon. Okay.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.